Good morning, everyone, and welcome to University Unitarian Church in Seattle. My name is John Luopa, and I'm here with my colleague Beth Chronister and our pianist Dwight Beckmeyer to share this worship service with you this morning. We are coming to the end of the church year and have been, as you know, many months in a virtual reality in terms of providing our programs, and we're going to continue to do that through the summer. Next week is our annual meeting Sunday, which means that we will begin with a short worship service of about 20 minutes, and then within a few minutes following, the annual meeting will begin. That too will be virtual. So if you are a member in good standing, you should have received an invitation via email to allow you into that meeting. It contains the link you need to join us for that session. I want to thank all of the board members and officers who have helped to carry us through these difficult times. It'll be our first virtual meeting on a scale of that size, and it promises to be a whole lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss it. After that, the summer services begin, and they will continue through the end of June, July, and August, ending on the Labor Day Sunday. Let us begin the service this morning then with our prelude.
I call us to worship this morning with these words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Hold nothing back. Bring everything you are and long for. All you love, all you fear to lose, the songs that live in your bones, the stories of your breath, the ache that comes to you in the night. Make this time holy, offering the beauty of your breaking heart, breaking open again. Bring it all here to the altar we have learned to make together, the sacred space we claim, the insistent thread of love and loyalty we refuse to let go. Invoke now the spirit of righteous anger and grief that can't keep you at bay, yet still burns within you. Know that this fire of our chalice is your inheritance. Remember yourself here in rites ancient and new. Feel in this circle all who have fought for freedom, not just for one, but for all, the steady march of courageous love that lives here and now, calls us on. Come, let us worship together. Welcome to University Unitarian Church. Welcome to worship on this morning. Would you please join me now in singing the doxology, followed by hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. At this point in our service, we gratefully receive the morning offering to support the life, the work, and the ministry of this community. Would you please join me in saying the words that we say each week? This church is a community of ourselves, Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. When we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
I've got peace like a river, joy like a fountain, love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got the green grass growing beneath my two little feet. I've got the waves in the ocean and the sand on the beach, and love that's long as a river flowing way down in my soul. I've got joy that's growing like a melody. I've got the sky up above and the deep blue sea, and I've got peace like a river down in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace just like a river in my soul. I've got the rain coming down and the rainbow in the sky. I've got the flowers in the field and the moon rising high, and joy that springs like a fountain flowing way down in my soul. I've got my feet on the path and the sun spreading light. I've got dreams in my head as I fall asleep at night, and I've got peace like a river down in my soul. I've got peace like a river, joy like a fountain, love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, joy like a fountain, love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, peace just like a river down in my soul.
Each year, we celebrate high school bridging during our flower communion worship, acknowledging the transition of our senior youth into young adulthood. For the first part of this ceremony, we will see images of UUC's graduating high school seniors, and I will read the names and biographies of these students. Jordan is graduating from the early entrance program at the University of Washington with a BS in mathematics with distinction. This fall, he will bring his passion for justice, compassion for all living things, and genuine curiosity to the Bay Area, where he will begin in the PhD program in logic in the methodology of science at the University of California at Berkeley. Louis Jones. Louis is graduating from Nathan Hale High School and will be attending Washington State University to study mechanical engineering. He loves to design, build, and fly RC airplanes and drones and hopes to continue this interest with the WSU Aerospace Club. Camila Maxon. Camila started at UUC in the infant room and has stayed engaged ever since. She's graduating this month from the Center School. She plans to attend Seattle Central in the fall and work her way to becoming a large animal veterinarian. Camila writes, "Thank you to the UUC community for your love and support on this journey." Max Munt. Max writes, "I joined UUC when I was 2 days old. 18 years later, I have recently moved to Bozeman, Montana to be with my dad and brother. I will attend Montana State University in 2021 after I take a gap year." Emmeline Sears. Emmeline writes, "I am Emmeline Sears. I am about to graduate from Juanita High School. I like to occasionally write in ciphers, draw characters that unravel into stories, and am excited to go forward, but definitely feeling the jitters of stepping outside what I know." Laura DeMarco. Laura had planned to take a gap year to work, spend time with family who live in Malaysia, and explore Southeast Asia from there. Now none of that is likely to happen, so she's open to advice about other meaningful ways to spend the next year. We also want to acknowledge our graduating high school students who were not able to submit a bio: Sadie Bates, Ellie Capistani, Jasmine Capistani, PJ Colino, Delaney Jarvis, Stella Jarvis, Julia Laverde, Marcel Ledoux Medina, and Ezra Vaughn.
At the conclusion of each church year, on this special Sunday when we celebrate our children and our young people moving on with their lives, we also celebrate the flower communion ritual, which is perhaps the most widely shared ritual among our Unitarian Universalist congregations all across North America. The ritual was created in 1923 in the city of Prague, Czechoslovakia, by the Reverend Dr. Norbert Fabian Čapek, who was the founder of the Unitarian movement in that city. He had grown up as a Roman Catholic, became a Baptist Protestant in his early adulthood, and later on, after a visit to the United States and his children attending the Unitarian Sunday School in East Orange, New Jersey, decided to become a Unitarian based on what he learned from his children about that Sunday school experience. He returned to Czechoslovakia with his wife and children and founded the Unitarian Church there, which at one time numbered more than 3,000 people. in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Most of the folks who joined that church were folks who had grown up in other religious communions, and they didn't want much that reminded them of their former religious lives. So he created the ritual of the flower communion as a way to close the church year, inviting all of the members of the congregation to bring to that last service in the spring a flower from their gardens, representing their own individual beauty and worth, and to bring it to the church to be placed in a common receptacle, and after the blessing of the flowers, for all members present, children and adults, to come forward and to take a different flower home with them at the conclusion of the service. This symbolizing, of course, that the community is made up of the individual gifts, the specialness, the preciousness of each person, and that we are enriched by that in each other. And so taking a different flower home was a reminder. And he asked his people to think about the beauty of that particular flower as symbolic of the gifts received from others in the community. Dr. Čapek preached the innate worth and dignity of all human beings. All were welcome to join him in his church. And when the Nazis came to power and came into Czechoslovakia, his message of that innate worth and dignity was considered subversive to the purposes of the Third Reich. And so Gestapo were placed in the church every Sunday listening to him, taking notes about what he said. When it was discovered that he had also been listening to radio broadcasts of foreign news about what was happening on the continent in Europe, he was arrested as a treasonous person. He and one of his daughters arrested together. They were to have a trial, and he was lucky enough to get a lawyer who got him freed from the charges that the Nazis had leveled against him. But just as he was making his way home from a concentration camp back to Prague, the Czech resistance murdered the key Nazi leader in the city. And as retaliation for that event, the new Nazi leader in the city turned back all the trucks bringing freed prisoners back into the city to send them back to their deaths in concentration camps, where he was sent to Dachau. And because he was 72 years of age and in failing health, was sent to Hartheim Castle in Linz, Austria, where living for a few weeks in the hospital there, then eventually taken to Dachau and gassed. Tremendously difficult and troubling times, now nearly 80 years ago, when courageous men and women were standing up against the race hatred of the Nazi regime. In just about 4 years, the Nazis were able to exterminate more than 7 million human beings, whom they considered inferior, deficient, and a waste of human life. Most of them were Jews, but there were many gypsies, disabled persons, the mentally ill, gay and lesbian, radical Protestant ministers, and sectarians, all of whom were killed in the camps. Dr. Čapek's witness to the enduring message in our hearts and in all hearts of the worth and dignity of every human being is one that we still embrace fiercely, especially in these most difficult times now here in the United States and really all over the world. How amazing it has been to see these rallies in major cities all across the world in support of Black Lives Matter and as a living witness in protest against, again, the race hatred that seems to be so deeply embedded in the human mind and human heart. We celebrate today, then, that specialness of every person. We too remember that Dr. Chapek was one who continually encouraged his people to stay active in the fight. Most remarkably, the day before he was killed, he wrote one last letter to his wife, which astonishingly made it outside of the camps and was delivered to his wife, who at that time was living in the United States, as she raised money for the Czech church. She received the letter 3 years after he had died. In it, he said this: "My dearest, my one and only wife, these are my final hours and my final thoughts on you, the children, on everyone and everything that is dear to me. I have felt more and more inside that there is no other way out, with ever deepening remorse for you, whom I am leaving a widow, and for the children who will be losing their father, and for those who will be losing a kinsman, a colleague, a friend. Today, a letter came from you, from all of you, with your blessing, my loving and beautiful wife, and with expressions of love, of our best and most beautiful dreams, and of those closest to us. Thank God for them, especially on this day. I can bear the remaining 4 or 5 hours, and I will not be downcast, but will rather give myself over to thoughts of you all, who are most dear to me, to the past and the future, and about your good and happy future, which you so deserve, when you will bring to fruition the best possible life, one that I would have been so happy to have lived with you so simply, in the fullness of a tried and tested love for each other and for God. There is so much I have wanted to make up to you, to give to you and the children and my nearest and dearest, but I believe that even so, you will be blessed. I am faithful to my best and highest hope, resolve and belief, wishing everyone well, believing in the future good of you all, the family, the nation, humanity, and especially those who suffer so greatly right now. You of all people understand what I mean without words. I know that everything that remains uncompleted after me, you and the members will complete, just as you have wisely and carefully cared for me in the past, O you best of all women. If I have offended or harmed anyone, may they forgive me, and my last breath will be for you and the children. And make the sign of the cross on your foreheads, your mouths, and your hearts. Your loving father and husband. When I think of this story now, after having told it for nearly 40 years, I think of the strange confluence of events that happen in tragic times. Dr. Chapek was freed, but because of another incident, his truck was turned around, and he was sent to his death. What I think about in that part of the story is that every one of us has thoughts and actions which may result in the great harm of others. We may not be fully aware of this, but I think in these times we must be more aware of this, especially those of us who have such great privilege and who are white in this society. What thoughts, what actions do I have that make other people suffer? Knowingly and allowed only into consciousness to the extent that I can accept it, but also unknowingly too. We must reform ourselves so that our being in the world does not create harm, suffering, and oppression for other people. And in his farewell letter, I take courage from his message that the struggle continues. It never ends. We will carry it on until we can no longer do so, and then encourage others to continue it beyond us. Our young ones, our children, our grandchildren. But may it be so that we not face our final hour until we know that we have done what we should have done, to be a human being and to love others as God loves them, and we must love them. Dr. Chapek's prayer over the blessing of the flowers I will now share with you, and then we will see slides of members with flowers, and at the conclusion of which we will have words again from Dr. Chapek. Infinite Spirit of life, he wrote, we ask your blessing on these, the flowers, messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to your holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of your most precious gifts. And may we not allow our awareness of other people's giftedness to discourage us or to sully our relationship. But may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do the work of love and justice in our beautiful and fragile world. Amen. Traditional flower communion song, number 78, Color and Fragrance. The words printed here on the screen. We'd like to thank Gary Shumway for helping us collate those slides of our members and flowers for this special flower communion service. Thank you, Gary. As we near the end of our service this morning, I'm going to invite you to join me in singing our closing hymn, There Is More Love, somewhere, hymn number 95, words here on the screen.
As we bring our service to a close this morning, I wish to offer this final blessing of our bridging ceremony for our seniors who are about to launch. At our child dedication ceremonies, we welcome young children into our church community by giving them roses on stems from which the thorns have been removed. The buds are symbols of life. The thornless stems are a reminder of our fervent desire to protect the children of our church family and to smooth the journeys of their unfolding lives. Now these seniors are on the other edge of adolescence. In the next week, they will be presented with roses once more, symbols of beauty and the promise of their lives. This time, however, the stems are not stripped of the thorns. This time we mean to give a real and true rose, thorns and all, for we cannot pretend to hold away the hurts and dangers of adulthood any more than we can keep those buds from opening. To our senior youth, I say this: you must handle these roses with care, for no one else can do it for you. But while we are not able to protect you, we urge you not to shrink from life, to engage it fully. Dangers and all, we are confident that through the years you have gained from our church many of the tools you will need to protect you, to navigate life's traumas. Of course, in your lives, you will still face hard times. In those moments, know that your church community loves you and cares for you and will help you when needed to heal your wounds. So grasp the rose of young adulthood with great confidence and hope, thorns and all. We will be with you always. You who are bridging today have gone beyond what you once were. With each new day and each new experience, you will learn more about yourself, your world, and your faith. Your past will serve you well on your journey. Your UUC community recognizes your transition from youth to young adulthood. It is a blessing to share together the sorrows of leaving the past, as well as the excitement of embracing the future. We pledge to one another to be in community, fully and openly, with all the blessings and responsibilities such an effort brings, and to move together into the future of this, our Unitarian Universalist faith.
Friends, just a reminder that last Thursday evening we held a vigil here for Black Lives Matter and for George Floyd and all those who have been killed recently. The altar is still erect and standing near the front entrance of the building. And so if you happen to be in the neighborhood, we encourage you to stop and take a moment and spend a quiet moment in front of it. Please bring a flower if you'd like. And also this coming Wednesday evening, Vesper service, we invite all of you to that, and it will also be devoted to Black Lives Matter. Now we conclude with the words of Dr. Chapek, who said, "It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. O blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. My soul you will never unravel. O blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. Even though disappointed 1,000 times, or fallen in the fight, and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life was worth living. He or she who was pressed from all sides, but remains victorious in spirit, is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He or she who overcame the chains, giving wing to the mind, is entering into the glorious age of the victorious. So may it be. Amen.